clothing manufacturers in LA, NYC, Milan, and Seoul, Korea presents 17 things designers of major labels need to know about manufacturing overseas. In this episode, we're going to examine the pros and cons of manufacturing in LA versus New York, versus Milan, versus Asia, including Japan, China, and Seoul, Korea. And we're going to compare along the lines of quality, price, shipping times, as well as language and cultural barriers. So before we get into the meat of the discussion, if you're a blogger, the biggest compliment you can pay us if you enjoy this video is to blog about this video on clothing manufacturers from LA to China. And if you do, just email me your blog address. I'll give you a big shout out. We have over 200,000 social media followers who would love to read your blog post. Email me directly, journik@gmail. That's journik@gmail, and I'll return the favor by helping promote your blog as well. Let's deal with pricing first and then tie pricing to the quality of manufacturing in each city in each country. On a scale of 1 to 10, as far as most expensive places to manufacture your clothing line, all the way down to 0 being the least expensive, it's going to go like this in general. Japan's going to be the most expensive. Japan and Switzerland are just about the most expensive places that you can manufacture your clothing. And it's going to be more expensive to manufacture there than it is, say, even in Milan. And I'll explain to you why in a second. Let's put Japan at a 10. Then we'd put New York City right at about an 8. New York's going to be less expensive than Japan, probably by about 20-30%. And then LA is going to be about a 6 or even a 5. So LA is going to be that much less expensive than Japan and even New York City. Underneath that is going to be Seoul, Korea, and then underneath that is going to be China. And here's why. Frankly, most all of the workforce in Switzerland and in Japan are going to be respectively Swiss and Japanese. The prices to manufacture in New York City and LA are depressed by the occasional and sometimes frequent hire of illegal immigrants. Ironically, manufacturing in Italy, in Milan, is going to be less expensive than manufacturing in Japan or in Switzerland, simply because of the fact that the workers in Italy are mostly comprised of immigrants from China. So this whole fantasy that most people have of Italian seamstresses and Italian tailors standing behind every label that says made in Italy just isn't true. They're largely Chinese immigrants. So that's why Milan's going to be cheaper than Japan or Switzerland, but more expensive than New York or LA, simply because you can put the label that says made in Italy on your garments. Okay, so what about the least expensive places to manufacture your clothing? Well, that's going to be Asia, and we've already ruled out Japan. So it leaves China and South Korea, Seoul, Korea. What are the pros and cons? Manufacturing in China or Korea is going to be roughly 20 to 50% cheaper than manufacturing in Los Angeles or New York City. Manufacturing in China used to be another 50%, 40 to 50% less expensive than manufacturing in Seoul, Korea, but that's not true anymore. Why? There was a recent law that passed. It's called KOREAM-FTA, or Korean American Free Trade Agreement, which means that if you're an American and you manufacture in Korea, there's going to be 0 taxes. If you manufacture in China, the taxes eat away all your profits. So what that means to you if you're in the accounting department of a major clothing label is that Korea is only going to be about 2 to 3% more expensive than China. And you won't have to use the Made in China label on your line. Now let's deal with the issue of quality. Hands down, without any question, if you manufacture in Japan or Switzerland, you're going to get the world's best quality. The reject rate is down to about 1 to 3%. So in other words, if you're manufacturing 1,000 units of any SKU, you're only going to throw away 30 of those units if you manufacture in Japan or Switzerland. So then what about the US? Well, whether you're manufacturing in New York City or Los Angeles, it's about the same. 5 to about 15% of every garment run is going to produce rejects. 5 to 15%. This one surprised me too. Manufacturing in Seoul, Korea, you're only going to get about a 3 to 5% reject rate. 3 to 5. Now let's deal with China. And this one hurts. The industry average from a Japanese point of view. In other words, Japanese clothing manufacturers, major household names that you've heard of, like Uniqlo, manufacturing in China, their reject rate is 30%. 30. So you might think if you're new to the fashion industry, well, the rejects I won't have to pay for, right? So why should I worry if they screw up 99% of everything as long as I have the 1,000 perfect pieces that I need, whether it's made in China or Japan? Well, the answer to that is really simple. You still have to buy the fabric. So based on which country, which city in that country, and which garment manufacturer in that city you work with, you're deciding how much of the expensive fabric that you bought literally just has to get thrown away. And you're footing the bill for it. And don't forget all the associated costs of dealing with textile mills in Bangladesh or India, all the associated storage costs, shipping costs of fabric, the depreciation factor, ... So if we're only going to compare the two least expensive places to get your clothing line manufactured, that would be Seoul, Korea, and China, you're looking at about a 2 to 5% pricing difference, and Korea is going to be more expensive. And Korea is going to have a 5 to 8% reject rate versus about a 20 to 30% reject rate if you manufacture in China. So then what about shipping? Well, if you're manufacturing small enough quantities, air shipping is only going to take about a week. If you manufacture large quantities, you are going to have to ship by vessel, by boat, and that's going to take about a month. And yes, because Korea is physically closer to the United States, if you're ordering from the US, you're going to save a few days in your shipping costs and time as compared to shipping from China. But what if you absolutely have to have the label that says made in Italy, made in Milan, or made in New York City, or even LA? Well, that's simple. All you have to do is get the bulk of your clothing, bulk of your garment manufactured and assembled in, say, Seoul, Korea, or China, if that's your choice, and then finish assembly in the US or in Italy. Okay, so now that you know all that, if you have a line that you need manufactured, we have a manufacturing plant in Los Angeles, in Vernon, Los Angeles, California, as well as one in Dongdaemun, Seoul, Korea, and in Milan, Italy. We'd be more than happy to help you. Talk to us at gradingfashion.com. You can give us a call or fill out our contact form and we'll respond to you ASAP. Couple notes. Yes, we do charge for design and development, and no, we will not produce free samples for you. And on the positive side, I do personally know buyers from major clothing manufacturers like H&M and Nordstrom's, ... who, if you become one of our clients, I'd be happy to introduce your line to my buddies. And I think that's about it. Oh, and P.S., as I mentioned before, if you do blog, and you blog about the differences between clothing manufacturers from Los Angeles to Milan, send me an email, jernick@gmail.com, with your blog address, and I'd be happy to blast it out to our 50,000 Twitter followers, 80,000 Facebook friends, likers. Let's see, Google Plus, we've got several thousand. And so I'll do a shout out about your blog as well and introduce you to other fashion bloggers who might like your stuff. And to get a project price quote, it's gradingfashion.com. And to contact us for a project price quote, it's gradingfashion.com. We look forward to helping you.